Welcome to Trial Site News on YouTube. This video is a special edition to make it easy for you to keep up with our reporting on various clinical trials associated with COVID-19 or coronavirus. Now, overall, it has been a very hectic week to say the least. On the healthcare front, U.S. national pandemic planning in relation to the COVID-19 crisis has evidenced challenges with the disclosure by Director Anthony Fauci of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, or the NIAID, at the NIH that the federal government has fallen well short on its mandate and mission to protect the public with appropriate mass test planning and execution. The feds report that they are making great gains, but will it be enough? Now, given the U.S. spends $4 trillion on healthcare, by far more than any other developed nation, and U.S. residents pay double the amount per person than any other wealthy country, U.S. taxpayers have reason to be concerned. But there are bigger fears now associated with coronavirus, or COVID-19. Now, if this pandemic isn't effectively managed, the toll to life and economy could be catastrophic. So, testing infrastructure in the U.S. has been problematic, while the race to introduce new commercial tests is on. In fact, President Trump met with a German company on March 3rd in a bid to secure an exclusive license to their technology, the venture CureVac. However, appears not to be interested, removing their CEO just days after the meeting. The company's founder has been reinstated as the CEO. CureVac uses mRNA, an advanced biotech-based approach to develop therapies and vaccines. And so does its competitor in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Moderna, which is also conducting an early-stage COVID-19 clinical trial with Kaiser Permanente, Washington Research Institute in Seattle, Washington. But some argue they are commencing the study too fast, before sufficient animal testing. Now, meanwhile, Trial Site News covered American-based firms such as Biomedomics that purportedly has a 15-minute COVID-19 test approved for use in Europe and currently in use in China that hasn't yet been accepted by the federal government here, by the FDA and CDC. Now, regardless of COVID-19 test capability, there is no cure or treatment and no vaccine for COVID-19 to date. Hence, the clinical trials race is on worldwide to develop a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine. Trial Site News seeks to make the world of clinical trials more transparent and easy to follow for more people, and so, hence, next we will summarize recent goings-on with COVID-19 clinical trials. Now, perhaps the most prominent of research operations is the biotech company Gilead, who is conducting multiple clinical trials of its remdesivir drug jointly developed by the Northern California Biotech along with University of Alabama and the NIH. Now, as we reported this week, Trial Site News did some research on total active COVID-19 clinical trials worldwide. Our research team found that about 88 active studies have commenced or are preparing to commence. The overwhelming majority of them are, not surprisingly, being run in China. Hence, a majority, about 90% of the world's clinical trials addressing COVID-19, at least as of March 15, 2020, are run by Chinese sponsors at Chinese clinical investigational sites, range of hospitals, health centers, and academic research hubs. Again, based on our research of the 88 active COVID-19 focused clinical trials, 73 are being conducted solely in China, while 7 trials are being conducted in whole, or at least in part, in the United States. Korea has also activated a handful of studies, while Europe only has a handful of studies going on in France, Germany, and Italy. But other research endeavors have been created, including some promising ones. And here are some that we've reported on so far. Trial Site News traffic blew up Sunday based on the article we wrote about a joint effort between the University of Miami and a biotech company called Heat Biologics. Research scientists from the University of Miami have teamed with North Carolina-based Heat Biologics to develop a vaccine for the coronavirus. The investigational vaccine intellectual property was originally developed at University of Miami, which licensed it to the biotech company. Elite immunologists within the South Florida-based university are focusing on the biotech's GP96 platform designed to target the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus that causes COVID-19. Now, previous research hints that Heat's University of Miami-Originated GP96-based vaccines could possibly be utilized to target COVID-19. Now, elsewhere, the University of Minnesota Medical School commenced a study to test Gilead's remdesivir, the experimental drug originally developed for Ebola, to determine if it can be used on those hospitalized due to COVID-19. The university has been designated by the federal government as a regional treatment center for the COVID-19 test, covering Minnesota, Michigan, and Illinois. Elsewhere, French pharma vaccine giant Sanofi Pasteur will investigate 2 potential novel coronavirus treatments, including one that would be manufactured at their Swiftwater plant in Pocono region, should clinical trials go well, of course. Now, the company announced last month it would partner with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, or the HHS, to develop a vaccine in response to the COVID-19 virus. The Swiftwater plant is well known to be able to generate at a massive scale. Now, elsewhere, INOVIO announced that it has received a new $5 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to accelerate the testing and scale up to Selectra 3PSP proprietary smart device for the intradermal delivery of INOVIO 4800, a DNA vaccine for COVID-19. Now, INO 4800 is in preclinical studies and is planned to advance into phase 1 clinical trials in the U.S. in April with up to $9 million in funding from the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, or CEPI. Now, INOVIO plans to accelerate the testing and scale up of the Selectra 3PSP devices to support large-scale manufacturing of INO 4800 doses by the end of 2020. Nationwide Children's Hospital, or the NCH, a global hub for advanced gene therapy discovery, has submitted a proposal to the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to pursue possible treatments for the coronavirus. Genetically engineered natural killer cells in development there in Columbus, Ohio, to target cancer, as it turns out, could potentially be used to fight viruses. Now, Bill and Melinda Gates have also pledged $100 million to fight the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, this effort involves capital infusion to test 15,000 molecules as a potential cure for the coronavirus at the University of Leuven laboratory of Johan Newts. Now, Trial Site News will surely monitor this high-tech analytics effort out of Belgium. Elsewhere, Gilead announced that the U.S. FDA has rapidly reviewed and accepted Gilead's investigational new drug, or IND, filing for remdesivir for the treatment of COVID-19. Gilead has now initiated 2 phase 3 clinical studies to evaluate the safety and efficacy of remdesivir in adults diagnosed with COVID-19, a novel coronavirus. Now, these randomized open-label multi-center studies will enroll approximately 1,000 patients at medical centers primarily across Asian countries, as well as other countries globally with high numbers of diagnosed cases beginning in March. The studies will assess 2 closing durations of remdesivir administered intravenously. Kaiser Permanente, Washington, disclosed to a local media entity that health systems will be participating in clinical trials of COVID-19 vaccine targeting the coronavirus. Meanwhile, Harbor Biomed, a biotech collaborating with Mount Sinai to work on a drug targeting coronavirus, closed $75 million from investors to further research treatments for cancer and immunological diseases. Yet another example of external collaboration as a centerpiece of drug development in this decade. Kansas State University licensed a technology that may lead to production of an antiviral drug to treat coronaviruses and noroviruses. Now, 2 virologists from the university's College of Veterinary Medicine, as well as a medical chemist from Wichita State University, have worked on the viruses for more than 1 decade, beginning research in 2009. A drug developed at University of Alabama's UAB Antiviral Drug Discovery and Development Center, or AD3C, is now being used to treat certain coronavirus patients in China. The drug, known as remdesivir, is the result of a 5-year, $37.5 million U-19 grant to study and develop treatment for emerging infections like coronaviruses that can trigger SARS, MERS, and now the COVID-19, the latest strain that triggered an outbreak in China. The virus is now spreading around the globe, as most of you are already aware. The first clinical trials in the United States of an experimental treatment for the new coronavirus was initiated by the University of Nebraska Medical Center, an American who was brought to UNMC campus after one of many evaluated from the Diamond Princess cruise ship off the coast of Japan has volunteered as the first to participate in this study. Now, this participant is one of 15 individuals from the ship presently under quarantine at UNMC. 13 in the National Quarantine Unit, and 2 in a separate Nebraska Biocontainment Unit. UNMC and Nebraska Medicine have partnered to launch the trial due to their experience in biopreparedness and the researchers' participation with infectious disease research, not to mention the campus's Biocontainment Unit. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Trial Site News has observed the number of total clinical trials targeting COVID-19 has ramped up to at least 88 and probably more by the end of next week. Although about 90% of the total clinical trials are run out of China, the number of trials in the U.S. are rapidly ramping up. Now, moreover, Gilead's remdesivir is one of the more promising candidates, although there are others out of both the U.S. and China. Thank you for joining us today. For more on any of these stories and to be kept up to date, feel free to subscribe to this channel, or you can check us out at trialsitenews.com and get all your news, coronavirus, and other health otherwise satisfied there. From Trial Site News, I'm Adrian, and we will see you next time.